Yesterday I thought I had an absolutely fire hot one on my hands when we did a fifth Air Max 90 in a row. It was the Air Max 90 Ken Griffey Juniors. I thought, brilliant, what an excellent shoe, tying up with the baseball world. Some real great hits on there. And then we get to these guys today and it takes that Air Max 90 yesterday and puts it on steroids. Air Max 90 squared, because it's not just Ken Griffey Jr. we've got today, it's Ken Griffey Sr. as well, mashing up together in an Air Force One of the classic silhouettes of all time. And it's an amazing story. Now, I already knew quite a lot about baseball, especially Ken Griffey Jr. and his move into the front office, the special advisor to the commissioner or something along those lines. And with him moving into the front office, that brings out a whole lot of work from Nike trying to sort of get on the brand and jump on the bandwagon. So we get all of that, but then tying it up with Ken Griffey Sr. Didn't know anything about this, and I did a bunch of Google searches like Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr. playing together. How many times did they play together? And I got a bunch of really interesting stuff about them. It really touched me in a way, actually. I think it's a really special story that father and son would play professional sports together for 2 seasons. You know, it's not just a one-off game, or, you know, I don't know if you guys know much about the golf, but the Masters golf tournament, the day before, they have a special par 3 tournament, and often like fathers will caddy for their sons, or sons will caddy for their fathers and stuff like that in that tournament, because the rules are so relaxed. But we're talking about actual professional baseball games, not, you know, like pre-season friendlies, you know, not dead rubbers. These are actual professional baseball games, and they played together for 2 seasons, like I said. I think the number in my mind is 37. I think they maybe played 37 games together, but that might be wrong. But at least 2 seasons together. I think it's an incredible story, and that incredible story comes through in this shoe today. So let's get into it. Let's take a close-up look at the upcoming release of the Nike Air Force One Ken Griffey Sr. and Jr. This is the Tokyo Bara 23 Secret Channel. Tokyo Bara 23 Secret Channel des. Mainichi Yapsuru no de. Mainichi Mite Kudasai. Every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And today in the spotlight is an Air Force One celebrating its 40th anniversary year next year. So 39 years since this classic silhouette hit the stores. And I was speaking to a co-worker recently, and they said it's the most popular shoe of all time. And I thought, oh, that's a bit much. And then I thought, well, actually, you know what, maybe that's right. Maybe the Air Force One is the most popular shoe of all time, like single silhouette, you know what I'm saying? I think, it's weird, out of left field trivia for you, but I think the biggest sneaker company or brand in the world is Skechers, because of the number of kids sneakers that they sell. But when it comes down to individual silhouettes, one shoe, not a brand, but one particular shoe, I think the Air Force One might just clinch it above the rest. So a great shoe, a great silhouette, and a great story that is bringing us today about Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. and how they played a couple of seasons together. I think in 1990 and 1991, Sr. had been cut by the Cincinnati Reds, and then they brought him across to Seattle, where Ken Griffey Jr. was just starting his career. And they actually said at the time that they knew it was just a sort of gimmick or a sales technique, but then he ends up playing 2 seasons together, one in centre field and one in right field, I think I'm right in saying, of the father and son combo. And that's the detail, that's the important stuff. Is it's a huge story, right? It must have been massive at the time. We're talking like 30 odd years ago, but one of the big upcoming players and one of the most established players finishing their career, just father and son playing together. But it's the small things in that. It's hard to explain, but the news, generally speaking, it sort of misleads people into thinking about the biggest part of a story, father and son playing for the same team together. But you know what? The actual story, the important details of this story, isn't them playing together. It's little things like just sitting on the bench between innings together. That's it. What a beautiful little image. Father and son sitting side by side, waiting between innings to either go out and play outfield together or waiting for their turn to bat. Beautiful little image. But I saw a great little picture of, I think it was Junior passing the ball to senior, like, you know, just how they throw the ball about between pitches, for example, or after an out, you know, the centre fielder catches it and throws it to the right fielder or something like that. That simple little thing. So not the big stories, not the huge stories, like, for example, hitting back-to-back home runs, which is just blowing my mind. That senior, I think, first bat number 2 hits a home run and junior steps up right after him and hits a home run straight up. That is absolutely fairy tale stuff. But like I say, it's the little details to me, the little nods, the little moments together that make the story and not the big things. So I think it's a great story. Obviously, I'm quite passionate about it. And it's just a beautiful story to bring into the shoe, and how they do bring it into the shoe in incredible style. And we're going to walk through that right now, and I'll show you some of the details on it. The biggest details come at the back end of the shoe when we look at the heel. So let's jump over to that there, and there are 3 things that are jumping off the page at me right here. The first is the most obvious one, which is it says junior on one shoe and senior on the other, or JR on one shoe and SR on the other, and then the swoosh there, all in gold. Very, very beautiful. But also the second thing on there, which is very obvious, we've got the majorly obvious junior and senior, the very obvious baseball stitching below that holds the ladder on the medial sides together, and that oversized kind of external red stitching that you get there. Yesterday in the Air Max 90s, it was up on kind of the ankle area, but on these guys, it's right around the heel below that kind of branding unit. And that baseball stitching feel there is a major detail. But a really nice little detail is actually the branding panel in blue on there. If you zoom in on that, you can see it's got a wood feel to it. It's that wood feel that I really, really like about these guys. So it's not just that junior and senior on there, it's also the baseball stitching, and it's also the wood feel that you see sort of etched into the branding panel on the heel of these guys. Now, it's a little bit more difficult to see, but we'll stay on this picture, and you'll see just wrapping around, if you kind of look on the angle of the back end of these guys, so it's not flush on the heel, but it's kind of on the edge of the heel. You can actually see junior's number 24 on one shoe on the lateral side, and then senior's number 30 on the other shoe. And again, it's a great little detail just to elevate these shoes up a little bit further. And speaking of things that elevate it up, we might as well go around and have a look at the tongues on these guys. Now, I think I'm right in saying the tongue branding hasn't changed, and it's just standard Air Force One tongue branding. If I'm wrong, it doesn't matter because you can see it on the picture here. But I think I'm right in saying that because yesterday with the Air Max 90s, it did change out the branding to be the backwards baseball cap of Ken Griffey Jr. But then if we move on these guys back from that tongue branding onto the insoles, you can see the insoles match the heel, where it's got that junior and senior on the branding on the heel. You can see it on the insoles of these guys. And then if we go the other direction, sort of forward from the tongue branding, you can see the laces are wrapped around with a light grey. It looks like suede or felt or something like that, which contrasts with the white leather of the upper. And then not too far away from that is the aglets. I don't think I'd already talked about the aglets. Maybe I already had talked about the aglets earlier in this video, but they've got a design to them which I don't quite know what it's all about, but they've taken the time to take this picture, so it must mean something. And then if you go all the way down from that to the front end of the shoe, you can see that little swoosh on the front end. I think I'm right in saying blue swoosh with gold outline on it, and it's very neat. And that reminds me, actually, the gold outline made me remember going back up to the tongues, because there's a detail on there that I wanted you guys to tell me about, which is the top of the tongues have different colors on them. One I think is yellow and the other one is blue, and I kind of didn't know what that was all about. I'd understand if it was red for dad playing for the Cincinnati Reds and teal for junior playing for the Mariners, you know, but I don't know what that is. And it's matched on the outsole. If we see the white outsole here, you can see the 2 circles on there match that yellow and blue that you see up on the tongues. So it's obviously got some kind of significance which I don't know, and I'd appreciate you guys telling me in the comments down below. And then it's not too hard to go to the midsole. I always point this out on Air Force Ones, is whether or not they go with white on white with the branding on the heel, or whether they do some kind of contrast. And today it's contrast, where you can see either a very deep blue, but I actually go with a black. I think it's just a black Air branding on there with a line that runs around the back end of the shoe on that white midsole. So they've gone with contrast today. And then the final thing to do when we look at Air Force One is go down and have a look at the Dubrays at the bottom of the lace system. And in the case of these guys today, it's a beautiful gold Dubray to finish off. An absolutely beautiful stool, an absolutely beautiful story. But more than that, it's about that father and son thing, man. I just can't get over that. I think it's a really beautiful thing to do, and I think that they probably did it for money and for gimmicks and for sales and for whatever, but then they realized it's actually, you know, an important thing, and it's actually got more to it than that, and that's why they ended up playing 2 seasons together. So a great story leads into a great shoe, and it's just one of the nicest stories of the season as far as I'm concerned. I hope you guys appreciate it out there as well. And with that being said, it's time to just wrap this one up. Another video in the bag. We're just churning out the content every single day right now, trying to get to 1,000 consecutive days on YouTube. I would guess we've done 910 or 915 consecutive uninterrupted days, not a single day missed, not even like New Year's Day, for 915 days. So we're trying to push that through to 1,000 consecutive days on YouTube. Fingers crossed we'll get there. For now though, it's time for me just to wrap this video up, and thank you guys for checking out the content, and I'll do what I do at the end of every single video, which is remind you that I do this every single day. And that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.